if there is anything that needs to be satirized and remixed, it is Trump talking about massive dumps. And by the way, extra points, if you can sample Trump saying,
Obama.
Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Pac-Man's a loser. Pac-Man's a loser. Pac-Man's a loser. Pac-Man's a loser. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that.
Of November.
all right. Hey, everybody. I genuinely have no idea why the audio on my intros wasn't working. Everything seems fine here. I can't find any technical aspects that are wrong. But I guess we're just going to have to sort of like skip it today. I don't know. It's all very strange. It's sad. It's sad. But we are covering the continued Johnny Depp Amber Heard defamation trial. Let's see if we have audio here.
Relationships he was in, you know, just pretty normal stuff.
We do. Okay, well, listen, let's get into it. They're going to go to a break in a bit, and then we'll have time to do other stuff. So let's listen and observe and learn and see everything that's going on. This is currently a some kind of forensic examiner of something. Let's figure it all out together. I guess we're in a sidebar here. Okay, let's continue.
Mr. Banya, what did you find about the results of the top web pages that you determined after Ms. Heard's initial allegations and then again after the publication of the op-ed?
Yeah, so after the initial allegations in 2016, I found that the majority of them had to do with the alleged abuse. And then after I realized that the ones the web pages that were dealing with the alleged abuse then started talking about is drinking and drinking and doing drugs. So it appeared to me that they became negative after 2016, but then after 2018, they even included the alleged abuse, but also included the drinking and drug use.
Did you form any opinions about the results that didn't refer to the allegations of abuse?
That didn't. I formed an opinion that I'm not following your question. I'm sorry.
That's all right. We can move on. Did any of the results that you analyzed refer to Mr. Depp's work ethic?
No.
Did you form any overall opinions about the results in the web pages that you looked at following Ms. Heard's accusations of abuse?
Yes, as I stated, prior to 2016, the web pages were just about his daily life and career. After the 2016 marker point, they tended to include, the majority of them included, the allegations of abuse. And then after the 2018 op-ed, the ones that included the allegations of abuse were also talking about drinking and drug use.
What was your overall view of the connotation of those results then?
Yeah, so Mr. Depp was portrayed in a negative connotation after the 2016 allegations of abuse, and even more so after the 2018.
You mentioned you also looked at Q scores as part of your analysis. How are Q scores calculated?
Yeah, so Q scores, it's a survey of 1,800 people that happens twice a year. What they do is it's internet-based, and they measure how well a celebrity or a brand is known, how much they're liked, and how much they're disliked. Q scores, include sports figures, celebrities, even cartoon characters, brands. So that's how
my Q score is reportedly off the charts, the doctors are saying.
Reflects the Q score analysis that you prepared?
Yes.
Okay. Tom, could we have demonstrative C, please? And Mr. Banya, what does this tell us about the Q score analysis that you completed?
Yeah, so what this is saying, again, these spikes are the Google trends that you've already seen, but what I've overlaid are his Q scores shown in the red, green, and purple area. And as you recall, I wanted to find out his Q score prior to the allegations of abuse in 2016, where he had a positive Q score of 11 and a negative Q score, a positive Q score of 35 and a negative Q score of 11. And then I looked at the Q scores after, and then after the op-ed.
And what did you determine about those Q scores?
Yeah, so what you can see here, his positive Q score, which is represented in red, was a 35, and that was prior to the alleged abuse and the restraining order. Then after that, his Q score, positive Q score, dropped to a 31. And what that's saying is less people liked him after
fewer people, sir.
The date
Sure.
of the 2016 alleged abuse. And then his negative Q score went up from an 11 to a 16, which is telling you that more people disliked him during that time frame.
And what did you find about the final Q scores that you looked at for Mr. Depp?
Yeah, then you can see the Q score C that I have there in purple. His positive Q score went from a 31 to a 29. His negative Q score went from a 16 to a 15. So now his positive Q score dropped again from a 31 to a 29, meaning less people had a positive impression.
My instinct so far here is I'm kind of leaning towards Depp is the one who's getting the better of this trial. But what's interesting is what we might call the volatility of this metric. It seems to have been higher before any of this stuff, right? I mean, I don't know. I'm just kind of looking at it as a layperson.
Scores during this snapshot of time. I wanted to understand what they were before, during, and after the op-ed. And what this tells me is his positive Q score went from a 35 to a 29 and then his negative went from an 11 to a 15. So what the Q-scores is telling me is the public perception of Mr. Depp has been damaged. You know, they like him less and they dislike him more.
Based on all of the analyses that you completed in this case, what are your final opinions about Mr. Depp's reputation over this period of time?
Yeah, so my opinions are that, Mr. Depp was not portrayed in a negative connotation prior to the 2016 allegations of abuse. And then
This seems like the weakest part of the Depp case, to be totally frank with everybody. It's like, this doesn't seem very compelling for defamation.
And then more so after the 2018 Washington Post op-ed.
But it's all about how the lawyers can weave it together in closing. There's no doubt.
The public thinks he's damaged. They think less likely of him. His positive Q score has gone down, and they don't like him even more because his negative Q score went from the 11 to the 15.
I have no further questions of this witness, Your Honor.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and take our afternoon recess of 15 minutes. Do not discuss the case and do not do any outside research. Just stay right there for a second, sir.
So presumably subject to cross-examination after our tea and crumpets break that is upcoming here. We have plenty to talk about too, so I welcome and relish this short break that we're going to get here.
All right. And sir, since you're in the middle of your testimony, do not discuss your case even with the attorneys at this point or your testimony. Okay, sir?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
But you can step down. We'll be back in about 15 minutes, okay?
All right, so they'll be back in about 15 minutes, and we're going to keep watching all of it. Thank you, sir.
Sir.
Okay.
Sir.
Whoa, that got a little bit out of control. Welcome, everybody. It is really great to have you here. This is going to be much more relaxed than yesterday during the Trump rally. We had our rare Sunday stream, and it was the absolute worst that Donald Trump looked since the beginning of this entire thing. It's I don't know how many of you were with me yesterday, but just because we have the time, check out a couple of these extremely glitchy moments. At one point yesterday, Trump made up a candidate's name. He didn't seem to know who he had endorsed. And then he said, we endorsed JP. And then he said, we endorsed JD Mandel, which is a portmanteau of J.D. Vance and Josh Mandel. He didn't endorse Josh Mandel, but somehow he still mentioned Mandel's last name. This primary is tomorrow. I mean, this is wacky. Check this out.
Or they're waiting for one race. We've endorsed Dr. Oz. We've endorsed JP, right? J.D. Mandel. And he's doing great.
It's amazing how well J.D. Mandel is doing. My favorite thing is actually when he says JP, right? And he looks over like, did we endorse JP? I don't even know. Who's JP? It's not clear. But we endorsed him, I think. Couple other moments from this, just glitchy as all hell. Here's one where he tries to say Mitt Romney, and it doesn't go well at all.
Even though it was totally made up. That was about a rhino named Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney.
You see how the glitch noise is like a record skipping? It's like, listen to that. It's very, very strange.
Made up. That was about a rhino named Mitt Romney.
That's quite a noise. We need that noise on the soundboard.
A rhino named Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney.
Reminds me of
Obama.
And then I have one more here. Here is a bovine investigation. Billy the Cud.
I've had more investigations than Jesse James, Billy the Cud.
It's just so weird. By the way, if Biden did this, they would have been calling for his removal.
That's what they're waiting for. They're waiting for one race. We've endorsed Dr. Oz. We've endorsed JP, right? JD Mandel.
If you're JD Vance and you've had to grovel to Trump for months to get him to endorse you, and then 2 days before your primary, Trump goes, my choice is JD Mandel. How furious are you that you've had to totally humiliate yourself. I mean, it's just crazy. Crazy. All right. Let me give away a membership. Kevin Gouldy just gifted a membership. That's number 1 for the day. Really appreciate you, Kevin. That membership goes to Christopher Lavenger. Christopher Lavenger gets that free membership. Really appreciate that in a really strong and powerful way. Okay, let's look at a couple of other things here. Let's see what else I had. I still am kind of unclear about this. Let me pull up the article. So I know some of you remember that at the very, very start of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, a couple of doctors emailed me and they said, David, sir, I think that Vladimir Putin is sick. He seems ill. He just seems like he's sick. And I said to all of you, this is extremely speculative, but it would explain a lot of things, even though it's completely speculative. And then about 10 days ago, this video was released of Vladimir Putin at a table, gripping the table like he needs it to stay afloat. He's like melted into his chair. His left hand is shaking. It's just bad. It's just bad. And then I said, listen, it's still speculative, but he looks bloated. He looks very, very sick. And then 2 days ago, an article came out in the British tabloid The Sun, and it said Putin has Parkinson's and cancer, and he's about to have major surgery. And I said, The Sun for me is not reputable enough for me to be ready to report it as a story. Now we're up to the New York Post. Now, still, the New York Post is basically the print version of Fox News. I still don't love it as a source. Here's the video, by the way, that I'm talking about. But now the report is Putin is going to undergo cancer surgery and transfer power, albeit temporarily, to his ex-FSB chief. Now, am I now 100% sure this is true? No. This is not reputable in the sense that I would like to see, for me to say it's definitely true. But we've gone from idle speculation to video sort of seeming to support it, to reports in a tabloid, to reports in a not super reliable American media outlet, the New York Post. We seem to be getting closer and closer to, Putin is indeed very sick. So everybody can kind of use whatever standard you will apply to the sourcing that we have, but we're getting closer and closer and closer. And to me, a deathbed Putin or a very ill Putin seems very dangerous, very, very dangerous. So that's where we are at this point in time. I want to say thank you to Nicole Bonier. Nicole is new member number 2 today and has gifted a membership. That membership goes to Kyle Shagnon. Kyle Shagnon, thank you so much, Nicole, for the gift. Also want to say thank you to Mama Kel and Jen here, each subscribing via Twitch Prime over on Twitch. Now, if there has ever been an important a time as today to take away Bezos bucks from Jeff Bezos, I can't think of it. So just remember, if you have an Amazon Prime subscription, you get a free Twitch Prime, which you can use here for free, and it takes money from Bezos and sends it to us, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Oh, the bonus show where you want to make money, but everybody else that makes money to fund themselves is bad.
Right. Okay. Here's another little something. For me, anytime a platform describes itself as a free speech platform, I assume that that's code for speech that we like. Let me explain what I mean. YouTube doesn't describe itself as a free speech platform. It's the biggest video platform in the world. So there's terms of service. There's content that's not allowed. There are things that are not allowed. They don't describe themselves as a free speech platform, but most content is okay on YouTube. When I hear these right-wing platforms say, we are a free speech platform, I'm hearing it is not a free speech platform. check out the restrictions on Trump's Troth Social, or correctly said, Truth Social. Okay? Let me see if I can even do this. Here's all the stuff that's not allowed on the free speech platform. Okay? Oh, hold on. Chat is stuck. Oh, okay. We've unstuck it. That's weird. Okay. Let's see. Here are all the things that you can report on Troth Social. Illegal activity and behavior, content that depicts illegal or criminal acts and threats of violence. Now, the complexity with that, if you're a free speech platform, is you can only determine whether something is illegal in a court of law. What I mean by that is it's pretty oppressive from a free speech standpoint to say it will be up to their opinion of the law. What? Who are you? That's not due process. That's weird. Intellectual property infringement, impersonating another account or business, infringing on intellectual property rights. That doesn't sound like free speech. That sounds like a corporate kowtow. Sensitive content, depictions of violence, gore, or nudity. I guess any depictions of the January 6th Trump riots wouldn't be allowed. Underage content, sexually explicit content involving underage children. Sounds like they've declared themselves judge, jury, and executioner on all of this stuff. Prostitution, solicitation, or advertising for illegal sexual activity or sex for hire. Guess Matt Gaetz can't be on the platform, huh? It's kind of weird. Privacy violations, violate or post content that violates a person's privacy rights. Illegal sales, sale of or promotion of illegal drugs, counterfeit services and goods, or illegal products and services. So basically, this free speech platform, Troth Social, has the exact same terms of service as every other social media platform. There's nothing special about it. There's nothing particularly free about the speech that you're allowed to have. Anybody surprised by this? It's judge, jury, and executioner, exactly. So anyway, not very inspirational. Here's another really weird one, and hopefully we'll have more information about this tomorrow. NBC News just put out this bizarre statement. They put it out absent any context. See if you can make heads or tails out of it. A note to our readers. A review by NBC News found 11 articles written by a reporter over the last year that didn't meet our standards for original material. The article contained passages from other news organizations used without attribution. Okay, so 11 articles were plagiarized. In all cases, the passages were not central to the stories, but they contained supplemental or background material that didn't represent original reporting. An editor's note has been placed on each of the articles, and the passages that were plagiarized have been removed. What a bizarre, vague statement. I'm guessing eventually we will learn what the 11 articles are and who the author is. But right now, I have absolutely no idea. So seems to be some kind of a plagiarism issue over on NBC News. That's pretty interesting. It's a cover your ass letter. Yes, exactly. Exactly. That's absolutely what it is. So that's all going on. Let's listen to a couple of voicemails as we stand by here. Let's listen.
Pac-Man, just watch your video.
By the way, this is the San Antonio troll. Usually he calls in and criticizes me for things I haven't said. Let's see what he says today.
About that lady that thinks Jim Carrey is Joe Biden. As far as the psychosis thing, I don't think it's any of that. I actually have a family member, a very close family member, who is a QAnon casualty, and it's not just him; it's several people. I started this Jim Carrey thing a long time ago. It's not even wearing a mask; it's literally Jim Carrey as a body double. And Jim Carrey, the thing is, Jim Carrey is supposed to secretly be a white hat. And I know it's insane. It's absolutely nuts. And it's hardcore Trump supporter, even though Jim Carrey is not even close. He's always been a Democrat.
Man, I'm really bored with the San Antonio troll.
So, in regards to like economics, so when it comes to girls who are getting like too much attention from men and then not enough from society.
Girls getting too much attention from men and not enough from society.
Do you think it's because they get too much attention from men that they're not getting enough attention from society? Or do you think that they're not getting enough attention from society, so that's why they're getting more attention from men?
And we will ban men.
I don't know what Whitney's talking about.
Hey, David. Is there any reason why you take these infuriatingly minuscule sips of water? Just do a little bit more water to ease everyone's concerns. Please, why such small sips of water?
I can tell you why. When I'm broadcasting, I don't want to take a sip and have that thing where you choke on the water and then I'd cough for 5 minutes. So I just go real little sips. I want to minimize the possibility of having one of those incidents, because if you do, here's what can happen. Let me see if I can find it. This has happened to Fox News host. Fox News. Let's see if I do cough. It's bad when it happens. Oh, you know what? Oh my God. I forgot about this. I'm not going to be able to find that. I covered this clip early on in the COVID situation. This dad is coughing the entire interview. Look, check this out.
I think as time goes forward, hopefully doctors and scientists will get a better handle on the whole situation. Fortunately, from what I understand, it is contagious, but the death rate is pretty low.
This was like before March even. This was February of 2020.
So, yeah, I understand the fear.
Yeah, well, we can see you still have a cough. What do the doctors say about your own condition moving forward as we wrap this up?
Excuse me. Let me get some of that. They said, yeah, I'm fine. I got tested twice, negative both times. The cough, probably just nerves.
Yeah. I cough when I'm nervous all the time. So anyway, that was weird. But that's why I take small sips of water. Okay, guys? Super chat coming in from Industry. Marjorie Taylor Greene on the street with Acosta is exactly what happens when you corner a pathological liar. They freak out and won't let you speak while walking away. Yeah, we have a clip on that on today's podcast if that topic is interesting to you. We're covering that pretty extensively. Welcome to everybody coming in. We're just in a very short break in the Johnny Depp trial. I do want to say thank you to... God, I want to say thank you to nobody. Okay, we are about to get back on the record here.
Okay.
We have one exhibit to hand out.
Okay, one exhibit. Oh, good. That means you're only down one, right?
That's right.
Okay, perfect. This is 1639. All right, thank you. All right. Go ahead and get the jury.
Is the audio level okay, everybody? Let me know if the court audio is too low. In my mix, it sounds okay, but I'm always... you guys are in charge here. Y'all are in charge. Hold on a second. I got to ban someone. This guy, Sleepy Joe Biden, thought he was going to come in here and troll us. Bye-bye. That's a perma. Don't even bother appealing, dude. It's just not even worth it, okay? I don't even want to see your name pop up in the appeals list. It's not going to be adjudicated in a friendly way. That's for damn sure. Okay, we're continuing here with a sort of like, I guess this guy's an expert on... It's almost like popularity and reputational metrics. I don't even know. Thanks to Blueberry Babe for gifting a subscription via Twitch. I really appreciate that. I will be live Wednesday night with the Republican Senate debate from Pennsylvania, as the folks say these days. And it should be interesting. Oh, and thanks to Blueberry Babe for gifting another subscription via Twitch.
Please be seated. All right, cross-examination.
Okay, here we go. This might be brutal.
Good afternoon, Mr. Banya.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Banya, you understand that this case is about the op-ed in December of 2018, correct?
I understand this case to be about the allegations of domestic abuse, both as it relates to the 2016 and the republication of that in the 2018 Washington Post op-ed.
You understand that Mr. Depp is only suing Amber about the op-ed from December 2018, correct?
My understanding is, I can base my understanding on my analysis, which includes the 2016 allegations of
That's
abuse.
your analysis, but do you understand what Mr. Depp is suing Amber for in this case?
Is it up to him to understand?
Objection, Your Honor, to the extent it calls for a legal conclusion.
Exactly.
All right, I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
He's
Did you
asking
read
a
the
tech
complaint
guy.
in this case?
Yes.
Did you understand that Mr. Depp was only suing for the op-ed, about the op-ed?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Depp was not suing Amber in this case from his complaint about the accusation she made in 2016, correct?
That is my understanding.
And you're not able to separate out how Mr. Depp's reputation was impacted from the op-ed in 2018 versus how it was impacted when Ms. Heard filed for divorce in 2016, correct?
That is not correct.
Okay.
This could get interesting.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Vanya, you took a deposition in this case,
Yes, I did.
and I was asking you the questions in that case. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And you took that deposition on March 21st, 2022?
That is correct.
Okay. And you were under oath at the time, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you were under oath to tell the truth, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Can you turn to page 83 of your transcript,
Oh boy.
which is on the 21st page of the...
I'm here.
Okay, and you see line 9?
Yes.
And I ask you, are you able to separate out how Mr. Depp's reputation was impacted from the op-ed versus how it was impacted by when Ms. Heard filed for divorce? And your answer was no, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you're not able to separate out how Mr. Depp's reputation was impacted from the op-ed in 2018 versus the publicity surrounding when Mr. Depp sued the Sun newspaper in the United Kingdom when a Sun writer called Mr. Depp a wife-beater, correct?
Are you still reading from my deposition?
No, I'm asking you a question now.
Please repeat that.
You're not able to separate out how Mr. Depp's reputation was impacted from the op-ed in 2018 versus the publicity surrounding when Mr. Depp sued the Sun newspaper in the United Kingdom when a Sun writer called Mr. Depp a wife-beater.
Objection, compound, Your Honor.
Sustained.
You're not able to separate out how Mr. Depp's reputation was impacted from the op-ed in 2018 versus the publicity surrounding when Mr. Depp sued the Sun newspaper in the United Kingdom, correct?
My analysis shows that the web documents that I reviewed after the 2018 allegations.
Respectfully, this is a yes or no.
worse.
This is a yes or no question.
Please repeat the question.
You're not able to separate out how Mr. Depp's reputation was impacted from the op-ed in 2018 versus the publicity surrounding when Mr. Depp sued the Sun newspaper in the United Kingdom.
That was not part of my analysis to carve that out.
And you didn't. You were not able to separate it, correct?
I didn't try to.
Okay, and so you couldn't.
I didn't try it.
Okay. And you understand that the article Mr. Depp sued the Sun.
Imagine not running a mile in 6 minutes and being like, you were not able to run a mile in 6 minutes, right? I don't know. I didn't try.
The new Fantastic Beasts film, correct?
I don't recall if that's one of the articles I reviewed.
Do you know if that article came out before Ms. Heard's op-ed?
I don't know.
Okay. Now, you're not offering an opinion as to how the op-ed from Ms. Heard in December 2018 impacted Mr. Depp's career, correct?
Repeat that, please.
You're not offering an opinion as to how the op-ed from Ms. Heard in December 2018 impacted Mr. Depp's career.
Correct.
Okay. And you're not offering an opinion as to how the op-ed from Ms. Heard in December 2018 impacted Mr. Depp's reputation.
What I'm doing is
It's a yes or no. Are you offering an opinion to that or not?
My opinion is related to his public image.
You're not offering an opinion as to how the op-ed from Ms. Heard in December 2018 impacted Mr. Depp's reputation, correct?
I'm not talking exactly about his reputation, correct?
And you're not offering an opinion as to how the op-ed from Ms. Heard in December 2018 impacted Mr. Depp's public image, correct?
I'm offering an opinion that after the 2018,
it's a yes or
his
no,
public
sir.
image.
It's a yes or no. You're not offering an opinion as to how the op-ed from Ms. Heard in December 2018 impacted Mr. Depp's public image.
I am.
Turn to your deposition transcript, please.
Oh, man.
And if you go to page 74...
The questions are all phrased as asking for confirmation of a negative of what he's not doing, which is fine. It's muddling it.
And you see line, are you there?
Yes.
You see line 1, starting on line 1. I asked you, and you're not going to testify how the December 2018 op-ed impacted Mr. Depp's public image. Answer, that's correct. That was your testimony at the time, correct?
Well,
that was
Johnny
your answer
Depp's
at the time,
perception,
correct? Sir, that was your answer at the time, correct?
Okay. Yes.
And that was your answer on March 21st, 2022, correct?
Yes, the date of the deposition.
So that was a month and a half ago, correct? Right. Okay. And you're not offering an opinion as to whether the op-ed from Ms. Heard made Mr. Depp more hireable or less hireable, correct?
Correct.
As to the articles that came up in the Google searches that you spoke about, it was you made the determination whether the articles had a, quote, negative connotation or not, right?
Correct.
Okay. And so that's just your view if an article had a negative connotation about Mr. Depp, right?
Yes, that's my opinion that they had a negative connotation.
Right. So if an article criticizes Mr. Depp's acting, for example, you're not considering that article as having a negative connotation about Mr. Depp, correct?
Repeat that, please.
So if an article criticizes Mr. Depp's acting, you're not considering that article as having a negative connotation about Mr. Depp, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, in your analysis of Google spikes, the highest spike in searches for Mr. Depp was in January 2004, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and I guess you guys have it. Can you put up the demonstrative 1236?
My instinct from the direct examination was this isn't the best witness, and this may not go well for the Depp side.
Okay. So if I'm understanding you correctly, A is where the most searches were conducted for Johnny Depp, correct?
Correct.
And that's from January 2004, correct?
Correct.
So that was 18 years ago?
Correct.
Okay. And that was when Ms. Heard was 18 years old?
I don't know.
Okay. The top spike you mark as 100, correct?
I did not mark that, but Google Trends identified that spike as 100.
And where it says 100, you don't know how many people actually searched for Johnny Depp.
I think that's just the baseline starting point. I think that's all that is.
Algorithm marks the highest point of search as 100, and then everything is compared to that as a ratio or a percent. So if you notice that A is 100, everything else is lower than that because everything is being compared to that highest point.
Right, so you don't know how many people actually did the search for Johnny Depp in January 2004, correct?
Correct.
Nobody does. Google doesn't release that information.
Right.
I don't know.
And you don't know if it's actually human beings doing these searches, correct?
As opposed to
bots or something like that.
Bots.
I did not do an analysis to determine if there's a bot or a human being, but Google Trends is a tool that's going to show you during a time frame the highest point of search interest as 100.
Okay. But you don't know if it's humans, bots, my cat doing the searches, correct?
Objection asked and answered, Your Honor.
Sustained. Next question.
Cats. So your cat must be very stupid to live with you. I can't imagine it's your cat.
In all of these Google spikes,
Sure.
Ms. Heard's op-ed never came up as one of the top 3 searches in any of the Google spikes, correct?
Well, that is correct because Google Trends is based on a search of a word or a name. And because Mr. Depp's name was not mentioned in that op-ed, Google Trends did not pick that up.
So person does a search for Johnny Depp and the op-ed doesn't come up, correct?
In my analysis, the op-ed did not come up.
Okay. And in fact, the red dotted line all the way to the right, that shows when the op-ed was published on December 18th, 2018, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the searches are actually going down right after the red line, correct?
As opposed to the searches in 2004?
No. Look at the red line, look at the red dotted line, and you have two points here, right there. Those go down from the time
Counsel, I need a protractor to answer that question.
Okay. And isn't it true that the next, I guess, spike happens in March of 2019, correct? Right there.
Yes.
And do you know that it was March of 2019 when Mr. Depp sued Amber Heard in this case?
No, I didn't look at that date.
Right. You didn't look at any articles for this bullet, correct?
That's correct.
And since Ms. Heard's op-ed came out on December 18th, 2018, you would agree with me that by definition, all the spikes you analyzed before December 18, 2018 could not have been caused by the op-ed, right?
Correct.
So articles about Mr. Depp's drug use before December 2018 could not have been caused by the op-ed, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you, in this chart, analyzed only 2 spikes after the op-ed, isn't that right?
That is correct.
Okay. And the first spike you analyzed after December 2018 is V, correct?
Yes.
And is that January 2020?
Roughly, yes.
Okay. So that's January 2020 is over a year after the op-ed by Ms. Heard, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And then the next spike you analyzed was T, correct?
Yes.
And that was in approximately July 2020?
Correct.
Okay, so that was a year and a half after Ms. Heard's op-ed, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And again, none of the articles, and then for V and T, if I understand it, you then analyze the top 3 searches that came up, or the top 3 websites that came up after a search?
Correct.
Okay. And none of the articles you analyzed in those Google spikes after the op-ed were the op-ed, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And isn't it true that the headlines of the articles over a year after the op-ed that you analyzed were about Mr. Depp suing the Sun in the UK for a Sun writer calling Mr. Depp a wife beater?
You would have to pull those articles back up. I don't have those in front of me.
Isn't it true that the article, and just so I understand it, V and T, that would mean there were 6 articles, correct, that you analyzed?
Yes.
Okay. And isn't it true that the article on February 26, 2020, the headline was, quote, Johnny Depp's disturbing alleged text messages read aloud in court as libel lawsuit begins?
Again, I don't have that article in front of me. I did produce those as part of my analysis. I don't have that in front of me if you'd like to show it to me.
And you understand that that was about the lawsuit against the Sun in the UK, not about the op-ed, correct?
Again, I do not have that in front of me.
And another article that came up on February 20.
So these questions are not meant to be actually addressed. It's just to get the question on the record.
Quote, "Let's burn Amber," text allegedly sent by Johnny Depp about X read in court.
I mean, if you want to talk about these articles, we need to bring them up.
This is your opinion. You don't recall what articles you analyzed?
I mean, there's a lot of articles here. I didn't memorize each title.
There were 6 articles that you analyzed in the almost 2 years after the op-ed.
All right, can you bring those up and we can talk about them?
And on July 19th, 2020, the headline was, quote, "Hollywood nervously awaits fallout from explosive Johnny Depp trial." You don't recall one way or the other whether that was one of the articles in either V or T?
Again, I know if you want to bring up my documents, I know document 9J, 9O, 9K, and 9M are mentioning the op-ed. Again, I don't have those in front of me.
And when you say mentioning the op-ed, does that mean that it just references that Mr. Depp sued Amber Heard in Fairfax?
No, it talks about how he's alleged to have abused her as it relates to the op-ed.
Doesn't it say, I mean, another headline from July 19th, 2020, the headline was, quote, "Hollywood nervously awaits fallout from explosive."
I would love if any of our lawyers are in the chat today to tell us whether this line of questioning would be useful to Amber Heard.
Against the Sun in the UK, correct?
Objection, asked and
I
answered.
didn't ask about that.
Overruled.
Again, I would like to talk about these articles, but I need to see them.
And on July 19th, 2020, the headline was, quote, "Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard, all the nasty bits of the UK trial, and it's all nasty." That was in point T, correct?
Again, I do not have that list in front of me. If you'd like to bring that up, we could talk about it.
And you understood that was about the lawsuit against the Sun in the UK, correct?
I do not.
And on July 19th, 2020, the headline was, quote, "Johnny Depp claims in the Sun he beat ex-wife, complete lies, court told." That was the quote, correct?
I don't see that here.
That was in your report, correct?
I would have to look at the documents again. I would be happy to discuss them if you would bring those up.
And then you previously had a chart that had articles from November 2020, correct?
I'm sorry, say that?
You previously had a chart that included articles from November 2020, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach on
Okay,
it?
sure.
Quite a scene here with the, I mean, yeah, I guess many of you in the chat think the whole point of this is just to confuse the jury and to take all of this stuff out for them to go, you know what? We don't really know what, if anything, this has to do with any of this stuff.
You understood it was Mr. Depp's decision to sue the Sun, correct?
I don't know. That's not part of my analysis.
Now, you talked about Q scores in your direct testimony, correct?
Correct.
I don't know QAnon.
And you testified about 3 particular Q scores for Mr. Depp, right?
3 periods of time are the Q scores that I analyzed.
And you're not offering an opinion as to why Mr. Depp's Q scores changed, correct?
That's correct.
And Q scores can go up and down for actors for any sort of reason, correct?
That's possible.
You recall testifying that they can
Any sort is a little vague.
Yeah, they can go up and down for many different reasons.
So you're not offering an opinion that Mr. Depp's Q scores were damaged because of Ms. Heard's op-ed, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And in comparing the Q scores from before the op-ed to the Q scores after the op-ed, Mr. Depp's Q scores dropped by 2 points, correct?
I don't have those Q scores in front of me, but if you're looking at them, I believe
We can show the 3rd page of this demonstrative.
What was your question, please?
Mr. Depp's positive Q scores from B to C dropped by 2 points, correct?
Yes.
You're not an expert on statistics, correct?
Correct.
And even though you're not an expert, you have an idea about what the term statistically significant means, correct?
Yes.
And statistical significance is a measure of whether your findings are meaningful, right?
Yes, I don't think you need statistics to understand.
Well, it's more about whether they could be a result of chance.
A drop in 2 points in positive Q score, correct?
There absolutely is. When you're ordering Q scores on points at a time.
Mr. Banya, go to your deposition, page 113, which is on 29.
I like how this guy's name is being put in the subtitles as baño, which is the Spanish word for bathroom.
Okay.
At 10, at page 113, line 10, it says...
It sounds like basically what this guy does is do internet searches. He's not a statistician. He's not offering opinions as to why these are the things. He's just like, here are numbers.
A difference. What I'm talking about is how we use Q scores in the industry. When you see a Q score dropping from a 31 to a 29, there's an issue. Is this somebody you really want to hire to endorse your products or your service? No, you probably not. You want to look into why, what is going on in the public to make these Q scores
And you can do that other thing,
you don't know
normally,
exactly
the third element of the bathroom.
5 or 6 points of drop in Q score, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, and it shows here that Mr. Depp's negative Q score actually got better from point B to point C, correct?
Correct.
So that's actually better for Mr. Depp, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you understand that Dr. Alan Jacobs reviewed your opinions in this case?
Yes.
And you understand that Dr. Jacobs reviewed additional Q score data, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Can we please put up Plaintiff's Exhibit 889?
My instinct is this isn't a good witness for Depp, but it may not make a difference in the end. Let me know what you think.
Mr. Banya, do you understand this as a chart of Mr. Depp's Q scores from winter 2012 through summer of 2021?
Yes.
Do you have any reason to question the Q scores that are shown in this chart?
Like I said in my deposition, I've not received the actual data to build this chart, but I don't have any reason to not believe that this is accurate.
As I understand it, Q scores are performed on a celebrity like Mr. Depp twice a year, correct?
Yes.
So there's winter of a particular year, and then there's summer of a particular year?
Yes.
And the winter scores come out around February, is that right?
I don't have that information in front of me, but it sounds right.
And so would you know when the summer scores come out?
I don't.
Okay. And this chart shows, well, permission to publish this chart as a demonstrative, Your Honor.
Any objection?
I don't think this witness has laid an appropriate foundation for it, Your Honor.
He said he has no reason to question the Q scores.
I'll allow it as a demonstrative. That's fine.
And so this chart shows Mr. Depp's positive and negative Q scores, correct?
Correct.
And the positive Q scores are in blue.
That's correct.
Can you blow it up a little bit, Michelle? And the negative Q scores are in red?
That doesn't look great.
Yes.
Okay.
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach for a moment?
I mean, so the point here is that it certainly looks like his positive scores actually improve after the Amber Heard op-ed, which would run counter to the case of the Depp trial. Now, of course, we could say, well, that might be the case in some limited public opinion, but studios still didn't want anything to do with the guy. I don't know. It's interesting.
Mr. Banya, the positive Q score for Mr. Depp in the winter of 2012 is 42, correct?
It's in between. Yeah, it's in between 40 and 45.
Is this guy gonna cry?
And
if
did you check the actual Q scores that Mr. Jacobs demonstrated in his report?
No, my analysis was a snapshot of time. I wanted to know Johnny Depp's Q scores directly before the 2012 allegations, the 2016 allegations of abuse, and after.
Okay. And you see here that the positive Q scores for Mr. Depp dropped from 42 in the winter of 2012 to 35 in the summer of 2016, correct?
Yes.
That's a 7-point drop, correct?
Yes.
And that's before Ms. Heard had her divorce filing, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And that drop in Mr. Depp's positive Q scores could have nothing to do with Ms. Heard's op-ed, correct?
Correct.
And that drop could have nothing to do with the allegations Ms. Heard made after the divorce filing, correct?
Correct.
And would you agree that the positive Q scores actually start to show an increase for Mr. Depp after the op-ed? There's a decrease and then there's an increase?
Yeah.
And the same for the negative Depp Q scores. There's a bit of a positive and then it goes down, correct?
Yes.
So really the op-ed had no effect on Mr. Depp's Q scores, correct?
As I mentioned, my analysis looked at the snapshot of time, and it shows that he was harmed, from before the allegations of abuse in 16 to after the op-ed in 2018.
You looked at 3 Q scores, and you could have looked at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I won't even count the 2021 scores. 18 Q scores, correct?
Yep.
Okay. And you looked at 3, right?
That's correct.
And that's what you're basing your opinion on, that the op-ed damaged Mr. Depp's Q scores?
Yeah, so what we need to
That's my
understand is
point.
Q scores
My question is a yes or
do
no.
go
Your
up
counsel
and
can
down.
come back and ask
what
you whatever
I
you want.
wanted to do
Your
is
Honor.
I wanted to analyze.
Sir, if you could just answer his yes or no
Sure.
question.
Sorry.
That's fine.
I didn't hear your question.
You looked at 3 Q scores instead of 18 Q scores, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And did you look at the Q scores at all after the Dan Wooten article that came out in April of 2018?
Objection, asked and answered, Your Honor.
I don't think I asked that.
Overruled, I'll allow it.
No.
Okay. Thank you. I have nothing further.
All right, redirect.
Mr. Banya, on cross-examination, you were asked some questions about the fact that you made a determination about which of these articles had a negative connotation. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Is that something that you do in situations other than in your analysis in this case?
Yeah. So in non-litigation, when we're building brand monetization strategies, and especially if you're going to work with a celebrity or an athlete, you want to look at what's going on out there, about that personality. Because celebrities and athletes, Q scores can go up and down. You want to analyze the time and see what's going on out in the media. Do I really want my client to license in a celebrity that there's problems out there, or an athlete? So yes, it's important to look at this.
And I believe you were asked whether you're offering an opinion in this case about the impact of the op-ed on Mr. Depp's public image. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And I believe you testified that you are offering an opinion on that. Is that right?
Yes.
What's that opinion?
Well, the opinion is that he's portrayed in a negative connotation after that date.
And with respect to the Q scores that you analyzed, Mr. Nadelhoff was asking you about the 3 points in time that you looked at. Why, in your opinion, was it appropriate to look at just those 3 Q scores?
Yeah, as I was trying to explain, Q scores do go up and down. We're analyzing a period of time. We want to see what's happening right before an event, during that event, and if there's another event after that event. And that is our area of analysis. So that's why just these 3 sets of Q scores are the appropriate way to analyze.
With no disrespect to consultants, this looks exactly like the type of guy who sells something that's not super necessary for companies.
Testimony with anybody since you are subject to recall, but since you are an expert, you are allowed to stay in the courtroom if you wish, okay?
Okay,
All right, thank you,
Your
sir.
Honor.
All right, you can step down.
Sure.
All right, your next witness.
Your Honor, I believe we're calling Aaron Filati by deposition.
Oh, okay.
And, Your Honor, there are a few exhibits, or at least 2 exhibits that I think we have still those.
Could you put your microphone on?
We approach, there's 2 exhibits that we have.
Okay. All right, well,
All right, they're going to be bringing in the next witness. I want to say thanks to John Abel, who just signed up on my website, joinpacman.com. I invite you to sign up on that website. You can use the coupon code OBAMNA to obtain a membership at a great discount. Also, thanks to everybody who's been subscribing via Twitch Prime, including Under the Screen and many, many others. We will be live Wednesday evening with the Pennsylvania Republican Senate debate. Mehmet Oz and Dave McCormick and a whole bunch of other very, very wacky people are running in that race. We do have the Ohio. Oh, maybe I should stream tomorrow night. J.D. Mandel tomorrow night is up for election in Ohio. I guess if there's going to be live results of that, I could potentially stream that. Does anybody know if there's enough elections tomorrow that it would be worth doing a results stream tomorrow night? I don't know. Am I on Betrothed Social? No, I am not on Betrothed Social. Thanks to Churg to the Game for the Twitch Prime subscription. I appreciate that. Yeah, if anybody knows like the totality of what's up for election tomorrow, send an email to info@davidpacman.com. I'd be potentially up for doing some streaming there. This is a real tan. I got tan over the weekend, and it was crazy. Haley says, sir, you need to add your sound system to the class action lawsuit against all machines.
We're doing a class action lawsuit against all machines.
While we were streaming, someone sent me Trump's record skipping sound. There you go. Yeah.
Mitt Romney.
That's a beautiful. I might need that. Really outdoing Small Fuzzy Moss there. David Tanman. That's exactly right. That's the new show, David Tanman. Thanks, Haley. Appreciate the super chat. We're about to get a new witness here. How do you request a free membership? Oh boy. Guys, you go to davidpacman.com/free membership, okay? There's 694 people waiting for free memberships right now. 694 people. Give me a break.
I need 11,000 votes. Give me a break.
Please. This is expected to go about another 45 minutes, I think. And in terms of the trial, it's weeks ahead. Yeah, I kind of should get, Fuzzy, what you could get me would be Mitt Romney, Billy the Cud, and J.D. Mandel. Those would be good. Can a cat get a membership? Probably not. I don't think that would be allowed. Let's see if I've got another voicemail for you fine people here. Let's see what I've got.
Oh, David, I confess that back on the campaign trail, I believed Tulsi Gabbard. I believed how she represented her platform as a kind of a further left progressive, and it's been I think months now since I see.
All right, let's continue with the trial.
All right, your next witness then.
Thank you, Your Honor. Plaintiff calls Aaron Filati, also known as Aaron Borem Filati, and Ms. Hurd's counsel begins the questioning.
Uh-oh.
Thank you.
This should be interesting.
Your full name?
Aaron Filati.
And is Borum your maiden name?
Correct.
Okay. So Borum was your name, your last name in the 2014 to 2016 timeframe, correct?
Can we get the video, please?
That's correct.
There we go.
Have you communicated with anybody else from Mr. Depp's counsel other than Ms. Vasquez?
Not that I recall. Oh, excuse me, I do. I don't remember his name, I'm so sorry. I feel like I spoke with Adam. I don't know his last name.
Did you speak to or communicate with Adam Waldman?
Perhaps. I don't recall his last name.
Pretty suspicious.
And do you recall when that occurred?
That would have been 2019 because I had a newborn at that time. So maybe May, June, July, something like that, 2000.
Guys, I'm getting a report that Destiny is talking about me on his stream right now. If that's true, someone please log it and email it, and then we'll look at it later, okay?
So.
Okay. And do you recall speaking to Mr. Waldman at all?
Yes.
And do you recall that when you were communicating with Mr. Waldman was Mr. Depp's attorney?
Yes.
Ms. Vladi, you're a trained nurse, is that correct?
That's correct.
Do you have any specialties?
Well, I haven't been working, like I used to, but previously I was trained in addictions and mental health.
And when you say addictions, are there a specific type of addictions you were trained in?
All that I primarily worked with chemical dependency.
And where did you receive training for addiction and mental health?
Different employment places, and then I became a certified registered addictions nurse.
You know who Dr. David Kipper is, correct?
Correct.
Did you work for Dr. Kipper?
Not directly, but he would hire the agency I provided nursing services for, which was Turning Point, I believe. So I worked under his guidance, but not specifically for him. Most of the time. There have been times where I've worked specifically for him.
Okay. When did you start working for Turning Point Nursing Services, or whatever the name of that company was?
I don't recall. My best guess would be somewhere between 2007 or 8.
And when did you start to begin to do any work for Dr. Kipper?
I believe 2014.
Can everybody hear her okay?
What were the circumstances that started you working for Dr. Kipper in 2014?
If I recall correctly, it would be for services for Ms. Heard.
Were you ever responsible for Mr. Depp's nursing care while he was under the treatment of Dr. Kipper?
I provided him with nursing care. Exhibit 2.
Oh boy. This could get weird.
So, Ms. Vladi, I'm showing you what's been marked as Exhibit 2 to your deposition. And these are AHTPD 16929 through 16959. And is that the paper documents you have, a set of the paper documents you have in front of you?
The first page.
And the first page might have said at the bottom also K182.
Yes, I have that.
Okay. Do you recognize these as your, what are these?
These are my nursing notes kept for Ms. Heard. Yes.
And these are notes you created?
Yes.
Did you create these notes in the ordinary course of business?
Yes.
Okay. Were you trained in how to prepare these notes?
Yes.
Would you write these how long after the visit would you write up these notes?
Would depend. Sometimes I would keep notes on my phone that I would transfer to the Word document when I was in front of my laptop. And if not possible, I would do it as soon as feasible.
Pleasable?
And how often would you show these notes to Dr. Chipper?
I don't recall. At intervals, but I don't recall.
So if you look at the first page of the notes, the first entry is August 27th, 2014, correct?
Yes.
And you wrote RN has been hired to provide private nursing care for client Amber Heard, right?
Correct.
Right. And RN refers to you, correct? And
it's
RN
crazy that the connection's all glitchy in a deposition. I mean, it's just like, this is crazy.
And throughout the notes, and you say this here, Amber Heard would be referred to as client or AH, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And Johnny Depp would be referred to as JD?
That's correct.
Would you agree that Mr. Depp and Amber would get into verbal arguments?
I recall a general sense of discord in the relationship.
And what do you mean by general sense of discord?
I just recall there being disagreements, reconciliation, and kind of that repeating pattern.
And would you be at times taking care of Amber because of the disagreements between Mr. Depp and Amber?
I provided emotional support. I was not present with her often, but was available over the phone, via text, and sometimes in person.
Do you recall that in March 2015, Amber went to Australia to be with Mr. Depp?
Yes, I remember she went to Australia. As to the dates, I would have to look through documentation to ascertain the exact dates.
Okay. And on Exhibit 2, this is your note of March 7th, 2015?
That's correct.
And you wrote, client notifies RN via text of increasing anxiety?
Yes, I wrote that.
And then on 3/8/15, you wrote, RN received report from Debbie RN. Debbie being Debbie Lloyd, correct?
That's correct.
Do you recall what the report you received was on March 8th, 2015 from Debbie?
I mean, I'm just reading my notes.
Sure.
So to answer your question, no, I don't recall specifics of what the report would have been. I assume, based on this note, that would have been a phone call.
Okay. And it says, client will be returning to Los Angeles on March 9th, 2015, accompanied by House Manager Ben. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Did you have an understanding as to why Amber was leaving Australia in March of 2015?
Yes. I don't know if this is the exact timing, but you know better than I, there was an incident in Australia and they had to be, Ms. Heard and Mr. Depp had to be separated. So Ms. Heard returned to Los Angeles per my nursing notes, and I believe Mr. Depp must have stayed in Australia.
What was your understanding as to why Mr. Depp and Amber had to be separated?
It's hard to recall specifics because I wasn't there or involved at the time, but became involved again. I remember hearing from other people that there was quite an argument between the two in Australia.
Do you have any understanding if anyone was injured during the argument between Amber and Mr. Depp?
Physically injured?
Physically, yeah.
Again, I wasn't present, so I'm only speaking as to what I recall during that time period and what I sort of remember hearing from others. And also, I just remember Mr. Depp's finger was injured. I can't tell you specifically which one, but I remember there was an injury to his finger.
Do you have any understanding as to how his finger was injured?
No.
And then, Aaron, you wrote the next note on March 9th, 2015 that says RN and CT in touch via text and phone calls after client arrived at 1500.
Yes, I wrote that.
Okay. And 1500, you're using military time, correct?
That's correct.
So that would be 3 p.m.?
Correct.
Okay. And you wrote client expressed feeling, quote, sad, right?
Yes, I wrote that.
Do you recall what Amber was sad about at approximately March 9th, 2015?
I can't speak to the, I don't remember specifically, but I would assume based on my March 8th note, I would make the assumption that those feelings were in relation to the relationship issues.
You wrote, client states she would like to discuss recent events between her and husband with RN in private tomorrow. Plans are made for RN to visit client at her home tomorrow.
Yes, I wrote that.
Do you recall the conversation you had with Amber regarding the events between her and Mr. Depp at around this March 9th?
It seems the point of this would be for Amber Heard's lawyers to show how distraught Amber Heard was, and for Johnny Depp's lawyers to show how fine Amber Heard was, and that clearly Johnny Depp wasn't doing anything to her.
Did Amber express any fear of Mr. Depp at this time?
Don't recall. I don't see that in this note, so I can't speak to that.
And then the note for March 10th, 2015, you see that note?
I do.
We can take this down. We put up attachment 25, please.
Stand by.
Get vaccinated.
Saying Exhibit 4.
Falati, I'm showing you a text chain between you and Whitney Hurd on March 23rd, 2015. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
And on March 23rd, 2015, you texted to Whitney Hurd, Debbie just told me what's going on and to check with you, is Amber awake or fall asleep? Do you see that?
I do.
And then Ms. Hurd wrote she finally fell asleep. You see that?
Yes.
Okay. Then you wrote, thank goodness, she must be exhausted.
I'm sorry, just to confirm, this is from Whitney Hurd, not Amber Hurd, correct?
As I understand it, it says Whit Hurd. Is that your understanding?
I assume. Thank you.
And then do you recall ever communicating with Whitney Hurd via text or chat?
That sounds familiar.
Okay. And you wrote, thank goodness, she must be exhausted. Do you want me to come to the loft, or is she safe and sound asleep? You see that?
I do see that.
Okay. And then Whitney wrote, safe? Question mark? No, she's not. Kept saying she wants to kill herself. You see that?
See that?
Were you ever concerned about Ms. Hurd's safety as it relates to Mr. Depp?
So if she made comments to me that she was not safe, I would be concerned about her to ensure that she was safe. Yes.
Do you recall Ms. Hurd making comments to you about her safety?
I remember a general sense when they, meaning Ms. Hurd and Mr. Depp, would have arguments. She would often have her friends around her for support, but from a general, physical sense, she was always in a safe place.
Oh, and you mean in a general physical sense, she was always in a safe place? What do you mean by that?
Meaning she was always, not always, I should say, often home, often surrounded with friends. She had friends that lived right down the hallway from her, so she was always supported.
Was Mr. Depp friends with Marilyn Manson?
Yes, I believe.
Ms. Falati, I'm showing you what's marked as Exhibit 7, and these are texts that Mr. Depp produced between you and him. And I'm focusing on this text message of October 31st, 2015. You see that? Well, so this text message between you and Whitney is on March 23rd, 2015. You see that?
I do.
Okay. And if we go back to Exhibit 2, and I'll go back. Oops. There's no entry for March 23rd, 2015. Yeah. You see that? Not everything you did for Ms. Hurd as a nurse is reflected in these notes, correct? And the next notes we have are November 25th, 2015. Do you know why there's a long period where there's no notes?
Yes. Perhaps I can shed some light for you and everyone on the relationship. When I was first hired to care for Ms. Hurd, I worked full time. I was assigned 24/7 basically. And after a period of time, I became more part-time and on call. And I was working with different clients at the time. So I would, how to put it, I would not be working regularly, but would also be available if an issue arose or a medication change needed or things like that. So I would assume that would account for this gap.
Why did you move from full-time to part-time?
I don't know the exact answer, but I assume that's not my decision to make. That's usually the client and or treating physician.
Okay, so that's the first page of Exhibit 2.
Yes, thank you.
Pretty riveting stuff.
So if you can you go down to, it's about the third paragraph a little bit, yes. Per report from JD, which refers to Mr. Depp, Debbie, RN, and Dr. Kipper, client AH, which is Ms. Heard, has reportedly been experiencing increased anxiety and agitation recently and has had several outbursts of anger and rage. From what I remember, when I was involved in the case, it was to help assist Ms. Heard with some emotional issues, anxiety issues, in attempts to assist, in layman's term, kind of calming things down a bit.
It is weird that you get a nurse for primary anxiety when normally you would get either a psychologist, a licensed independent social worker. I don't know. It's kind of weird, isn't it?
I do recall seeing her very angry. I have to refer to my notes. It was in London, so that would have been 2014. And I believe it was in reference to a violating incident where her phone had been hacked and she was quite upset. I saw her angry at that time, and other times I don't recall.
Were you in London with Amber at the time?
Yes.
And how was Amber showing her anger?
I recall loud, kind of elevated voice, yelling, crying, quite upset.
Do you recall receiving a call from Amber around December 16th, 2015 regarding this argument between Mr. Depp and Amber?
I don't recall a specific phone call.
Would you doubt that a phone call occurred if you wrote it down in your notes?
If I wrote it, I don't doubt that it occurred. I just don't have memory of it.
That's fair.
And now you see the note on December 17th, 2015?
Yes.
And you wrote RN in contact with client to notify her that she'd be able to deliver medications to her home. RN waited at door for several minutes after knocking. Client greeted RN at door looking disheveled. Hair appeared unbrushed. Client appeared weepy and sad. Posture is slouched. Client told RN about argument with husband. RN offered emotional support but reminded client that RN could not stay as was on duty with another client and was only visiting in order to deliver medication. Per client, she had not had contact with husband since altercation. Client had visible bright red blood appearing at center of lower lip. When RN made client aware that she was actively bleeding on her lip, client stated it was from injury sustained in the, and then it's blank. You see that? And then we can keep going down in the argument between her and her husband, and that it continues to bleed actively. You wrote that?
Yes.
And then you also wrote clients also states that her head is bruised and that she lost clumps of hair in altercation. You wrote that?
I assume so. It's in my notes.
Okay. And then you wrote, RN briefly looked at client's scalp but was unable to visualize the hematomas client had described. You wrote that?
Yes, I would agree.
And then you wrote RN encouraged client to be seen by physician Dr. Kipper or go to emergency urgent care for thorough assessment. You see that?
I do.
And then you wrote client states she will contact Dr. Kipper tomorrow. Client is supported by friends Rocky and IO who will be staying in client's home with her. You wrote that?
I agree, yes.
Okay. And then on December 18th, 2015, you wrote, client states she went to Dr. Kipper's office and was assessed by NP Monroe T as Dr. Kipper was out of the office. You wrote that?
Yes,
And NP stands for nurse practitioner.
that's correct.
And you understand Monroe T stood for Monroe Tinker?
Yes,
Do you recall if Mr. Depp ever forgot to take any of his medication?
at a specific time or ever?
In any time where you were working with him?
I would say vaguely, yes.
Ms. Bellotti, I'm showing it's been marked as Exhibit 11 to your deposition, which is Bellotti 96 through 106. You see that?
Yes,
You recall receiving this text message, right?
a vague memory of this.
Some redactions.
Do you recall if you spoke to Amber after you received this text message? Or at any time after you received this text message around May 21st, May 22nd, 2016?
Are you saying a phone call or just?
Phone call.
I don't really recall.
It could have happened, you just don't recall one way or the other?
I would agree with that.
And you received this picture from Amber?
That's correct.
What is this picture of?
I was just asking if you could scroll down. Well, could you rewind it just a little bit?
Ms. Heard.
And does the picture show redness under Miss Heard's eyes?
You can answer as a lay person if she has such an opinion. If you have an opinion one way or the other, you can let them know.
I'm not an expert, so I mean, there's color on her face in different areas. I don't know what's what.
And you received this first picture of Amber at 12:36 a.m., correct?
That's the timestamp there.
And you received another picture at 12:36 a.m.?
It appears so.
And who do you see in that picture?
Also misheard.
And you received a third picture of Amber at 12:36 a.m.?
Yes, it appears so.
And is that third picture of Amber?
Yes, that's misheard.
And you received the fourth picture of Amber at 12:36 a.m.?
Then yes.
And this fourth, I think just so it's clear, the fourth picture is of Amber, correct?
That's correct.
And you received that at 12:36 a.m.?
Yes, that's the timestamp.
And these are pictures of Amber's face, correct?
Yes, that's a picture of her face and neck.
Do you recall you recall receiving those pictures?
Like I said, I have a vague memory of this, but I don't specifically remember receiving it.
Okay. Do you know if you reported these pictures or what Ms. Heard reported to you to Dr. Kipper?
I would assume that if any information was presented to me, I would have contacted Dr. Kipper.
And do you know how you would have contacted Dr. Kipper?
No, I depending on the date, time, I would sometimes call, email, text.
Do you recall if you wrote nurse notes for this incident?
I don't recall.
Do you want us to look at Exhibit 2?
That's the nursing notes?
Yeah. Why don't we do that? So there's notes for May 11th, 2016. You see that?
Yeah.
And then the next notes for May 26th, 2016.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know why you didn't include notes for May 21st, 2016?
I don't know.
And on May 26th, you wrote, client texted RN requesting Ambien as she states she's suffering from insomnia due to stress and anxiety. Client reports, quote, having the hardest week of my life, end quote. You wrote that?
Yes.
And you wrote, client states she cannot deal with the negative media publicity she has received surrounding the divorce she requested from her husband, JD. Dr. Kipper notified Ambien 10 milligrams, QHS PRN 14 ordered. Per Dr. Kipper, client is encouraged to make appointment with Dr. Kipper in office to be assessed. Client did not respond. You wrote that?
Yes.
Ms. Vladi, I'm showing you what's been marked as Exhibit 12 to your deposition, which is Vladi 114 through 119. You can take a look through them. It appears to be notes of when you were Mr. Depp's nurse, as opposed to Ms. Heard. But feel free to take a look.
That's correct. I think these are my nursing notes in relation to Mr. Depp.
So client now is Mr. Depp, correct?
That's correct, because these nursing notes are in reference to Mr. Depp. Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
All right, everybody. We've come to the end of my availability here at quarter of, as we've got to get into some other stuff here in the studio. I'll cover more of this tomorrow, and we may have election results tomorrow night. We'll have the Pennsylvania Republican Senate debate on Wednesday night. We will probably have the Trump rally on Friday night. And many other streams. So I appreciate everybody joining me. You can continue to watch this on any number of other streams. I'm sure you find it all as compelling as I do. And we'll be back with everybody tomorrow.